Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to Startup Grind Pune, one of the oldest chapter of Startup Grind in India. And we are glad to bring to you another event today where we are hosting a vibrant and growing entrepreneur, Joyce, who is joining us all the way from States, telling about her story and how she has been living entrepreneurship. Hello, Joyce. Glad to meet you.
Hello, Ayush. Thank you for having me.
Yes, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, great as well. And we are very excited to host you today. We have a nice gathering of founders and entrepreneurs already joining us today. And we are all looking forward to learn from your stories and from your lessons. So let's dive right in, I'd say. Why not we start with a small introduction about yourself and before ThriveHealth, I'd say what all you have been doing, what were you doing, how did you get into entrepreneurship? Would you like to start from there?
Sure, Ayush. So thank you again for having me. I'm really thrilled to be on your webinar today. So I'm a finance professional by training and background, worked in finance for several years and found myself in healthcare in 2013. And I've been in healthcare since then. And so I say, I have a coat of many colors. You start with finance, you find yourself in operations, and now you're in technology. And so I started ThriveHealth in 2020, February of 2020, just before the pandemic, with three other physicians. And it started off as an idea back in 2018, but that evolved into a company in February of 2020. And the company has grown from being a tech company to having tech and services. And so that's me in a nutshell. Finance professional turned tech entrepreneur and telehealth innovator.
Okay. Uh, yes, that. So maybe would you like to tell what led you to getting into healthcare, especially before the pandemic? Like what I heard is that you already started on the idea, not because of the pandemic, but well before it. So what led you to getting started and the jump from finance to healthcare?
So my mom is a nurse, so I think that's part of it. I grew up in a home with a nurse, and I never wanted to be a nurse. I don't like blood, I don't like needles, but I like taking care of people. But I kind of stumbled into healthcare. I didn't intentionally go into healthcare. It was more of Joyce, there's a finance job in this healthcare organization. Do you want it? And I was headhunted from a transportation company into healthcare in the finance organization. And so I worked in the finance organization for one year. And within 1 year, I was promoted to VP of operations. And so found myself in the midst of working with patients and physicians and building clinics and doing all of that. And I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to do more of it. And so I stayed in healthcare because I felt there was so much more I could do with even as a back end healthcare executive. There's so much you can do for the patients, the decisions you make, the way you take care of your staff, the way you clean the facilities, all of that impacts patient experience and patient care. And for me, it was really about making sure the patients got the best care and the best quality of life. Whatever condition they had, they came to us with chronic condition, wanted them to live a good life and live well. And so for me, it wasn't a plan, but I'm glad I found myself in healthcare.
Okay, great. And then while we'll keep going detail about Thrive Health, but would you like to tell a bit more right off the bat, like how is Thrive Health doing right now? How is it growing, and what kind of success you have achieved with your work?
Yeah, so maybe I can just take a couple of steps back. So Thrive Health started, like I said, back in 2018 as an idea on a two-page slide deck that I pulled together. But I didn't really do much with it because I didn't have a lot of support. A lot of people didn't really think that telehealth at the time was necessary. And so I shared my ideas with a couple of people, and they said, it sounds okay, but it's not going to work. And so I just put it to one side. So fast forward 2 years after, started Thrive Health, and started it even though I didn't really think there was a huge need, but in my heart of hearts, I knew that technology is the way of the future. And my parents are very mature, and my mom is 77, my dad is 80, and they both have smartphones. They both use WhatsApp and all the other applications. And so the thought was, if I could create a platform that's easy to use, that would meet the needs of my mature parents, and really help them navigate healthcare in a very simple, secure, and accessible way, then for me that was a win. So that was what I really set out to do, along with my co-founders, to say, how can we solve the problem of accessibility, availability, ease of use in a way that would address the needs of people that are mature, people that speak different languages, people that don't really like technology, or people who don't just want to go to the doctors. They just want to have the ease of receiving their care at home. And so wanting to solve all of that. So Thrive Health is doing well. To answer your question, sorry, I know I kind of took a roundabout way to
No,
answer the
that's fine.
question. We successfully designed and developed our platform with Mindbowser's help last year, and launched it by the end of October of last year, and so did it within a really tight time frame, with all of the design, development, and testing, as well as launching, and fully went to market in January of 2021, and we've had a number of customers, and we are still growing.
Great. So, like one of the things that come to mind often of founders, Joyce, is getting early traction and getting early users for the telehealth platform. Especially, you have to go for partnerships. You have to say convince even practitioners to use the platform and so on. Would you like to share some of your experiences on that aspect? How did you go to the market, and what strategies you used, and maybe some that worked, some that did not? Please share.
Sure. So a couple of things on our go-to-market strategy. As you know, I've worked in healthcare for a while before I started my own company, and I also have co-founders who are in the healthcare space. So 3 doctors are actively with us, and started a company together. And so I think it helps to be in that environment to start a telehealth company, either be a doctor or be a healthcare executive, or in my case, I had the opportunity to build clinics, to build a region from 39 clinics to over 55 clinics. And so I've managed a really wide territory and actually built clinics from the ground up. So it's having that network in healthcare helped quite a lot with our go-to-market strategy, where we could tap into our network of physicians and say, this is a solution. And obviously, even before we built it, we engaged some of them in the build and say, here is a need. There's a problem we want to solve. Tell us what your problems are. Tell us what those pain points are. So as part of they were part of the build. And so when we launched, it was, well, this is our product. It was a collective thing. And so that was our first initial entry into the market with our network of people that we knew. And then subsequently that network grew because people started referring their friends and other parties to us. And we entered into a number of different partnerships and collaborations, which also helps with just expanding and extending what you can do. And for me, I believe strongly in partnerships and collaborations because there's so much more you can do as a team than for you to do on your own. So I believe entrepreneurs should, as much as possible, find strong partners and collaborators as early on in the process. And competition is great, but collaboration for me is really important as well.
Right. Makes sense. And I think very, very important takeaway, like always look for partnerships, because I think you can make friends and go farther, I'd say.
Yes.
Great. So, so one of the things that I found very interesting in your journey, Joyce, is that you, one, of course, you changed your domain expertise, but then you are also a no-code founder. You were not coding a technology company yourself. So, while I'm aware that you had technology partner, but from your own perspective, how do you see those challenges for any no-code founder, like building a technology company, and what advice you give, that what works, what challenges you faced, and how you solve them as a no-code founder while building a technology company?
Yeah. So I think the biggest lesson I learned throughout the process was while, like you said, I had a strong team and I had a strong technology partner that I work with. You also need to start from the end, with the end in mind. So what's your end goal? And in our case, we have a really extensive list of things we wanted to accomplish. But we broke it into different phases and said, we have an end goal, but here are the different steps. So for me, not being a coder, my biggest challenge was learning to be patient sometimes and trusting the process and trusting that the process, there's some logic to it, and knowing that the team would do the best job, especially knowing what the roadmap is, right? So it's one thing for you to say, I want you to build me a telehealth platform, go do it. But it's another thing for you as a leader of the organization to map out what you want and truly articulate your vision clearly to your team and make sure they understand, and then have some regular check-ins. I accountability for me is everything. So I have my role, the team has their role, and then together we check in regularly and help each other. Where some things might not be clear on one end, or what I'm asking for might not be possible, having that open line of communication is really, really important and critical. So for me, it was the time zones were a little bit different. So that was, for me, was a challenge. That was the biggest challenge, just managing different teams from different places. I had a team in India. I had a team in London, in Canada, in the US. And we all worked together on making sure the platform was a success. So I think it's a combination of collaboration, communication, having a clear roadmap of what you want, being very clear on when you want it, how you want it, and if there are any roadblocks or issues, being able to resolve them together as a team. So
Right.
you don't have to know. you don't know how to, you don't need to know how to code to have a technology company.
Right. But of course, just like you said, very important lesson, like to manage the expectations and probably whatever the other roles are, to make sure that those are fulfilled properly. Which in
Yes.
fact takes me to the next question, which is like now that you had your journey, like starting from scratch, then building out and then launching, and now working on growing the platform. So, what are the key activities that you recommend founders to invest their time in? Like, you must be knowing that there's always so much work, like 10 things to do.
Mhm.
But what you've seen as the most effective usage of time that you would like to advise founders to invest their time?
So really good question, Ayush. And some days I wear many hats, some days I don't. So full candor, I find myself doing a lot because I like being involved in many things. But I have learned and I know that it is important to delegate effectively and trust your team. So you ask them to do something, trust them to get it done. So I spend most of my time now doing business development. So developing the business, networking, meeting with potential customers, like large scale clients, um, and and finding a way to continue finding making time for strategic planning and thinking, because you have to continue to evolve. So for me, a majority of my time will be strategic planning and execution and business development. That's what I spend most of my time doing. And then when I have some spare time, I do um, like other things. And you have to keep your eye on the money, obviously. So you have to keep your eye on cash flow. But
Right.
it's always good to be able to delegate that to somebody else and say, you take care of that, you take care of this, and make sure the customers are happy, and you continue to evolve as an organization.
Okay, great. And see, one of the things we've always found is that there are a lot of lessons that are learned from mistakes. And in entrepreneurship, again, you have to learn as fast. So it is always good to know some mistakes also. I mean, just it's the nature. Like we all learn from each other. So, is there any mistakes or anything that you would like to share that you, looking back, think that could have been done differently if you were to given a second chance, that you would like to share
Um,
for others?
I think about that sometimes, and I just wonder what would I have done differently. Maybe have more money. No, I don't know. I think for me, it's I can't really put a finger to anything I could have done differently. Probably made more time for um, engaging customers sooner before the launch, which we kind of did, but not fully. We got everything done and then went to market in January. Could we have done that differently? Probably. And I know a couple of people who do that and do that well, where they have people who start prepaying for their products before the products are released. And so maybe create some excitement in the market before launching.
Mhm.
So I think for me, that would be something we probably could have done differently. Be a little bit more heavy-handed with our marketing, not in an obnoxious way, but how do we do that intentionally and strategically? And I feel like that was something we didn't do as well. So we'll do that better next time.
Okay. Yeah, that's a important takeaway. Again, I think because getting quickly to the market always is said to to be the way, but I think it's not so direct or easy. I think always we look back and we can always get the path, but I think when you're building, it's not so clear. So I can totally relate. Like most of the times I found that there are things that when we look back, we may feel, okay, we could have done this way, and this is so simple now looking back. So that
Yeah,
happens. Okay.
a lot of times you think about what could I have done differently if I were to start another company next year, what would that look like? And there's always something you can improve on, right? So I believe that we as humans, we always have things to work on. And so I'm thrilled for where we are and for the journey we've had and the team that I've worked with. And I'm looking forward to growing and to continue to evolve as an organization.
Right, right. Right, nice. And since I see that you give so much positivity and inspiration, how do you keep yourself motivated and inspired? Would you like to share some of the things that or practice or books that you follow or leaders that you follow that you like to share that help you keep going forward?
Yes, I do read a lot. I've fallen in love with audiobooks. They're now my new best friend because I have a lot of books in my bookshelf. You can't see it, but I enjoy reading books. And one of the latest books I'm reading is Seven Habits of Highly Effective
Okay.
People.
Hmm.
That book is phenomenal. So if you haven't read it, I would encourage you to read it or the audience to read it. Um, I do also find time to meditate and reflect. I journal
Okay.
a lot, and I'm very intentional with what I do, how I spend my time,
Okay.
because you can get pulled into so many different things, and everyone has an idea of what you should do differently, and you could get into so many different things to please
Hmm.
everyone. And so
Hmm.
staying focused on what you need to do at this time. And yeah, so meditation, journaling, and reading, and especially audiobooks.
Okay, great, great. Yeah, Seven Habits, I think, is one of the bestseller. Any other books that you'd like to name that you would like to recommend?
Um, so there's a book I read last week. It's called um what's it called now? I've read it a couple of times, and the word in the book is so powerful, but the title escapes me. I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
But
it
there are a
happens.
couple
Yeah.
of books about habits that I'm
Okay.
working on, because I feel like
Okay.
when you work on your habits, it becomes automatic. So
Yes.
a lot of books about habits of successful people, effective
Right.
people.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Okay. Yes, yes. And I think that this is one habit that I've found pretty common in all successful people about reading books and especially, I think, continuously trying to improve yourself. So I'm like, I had the same kind of wisdom from you.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So one other question that I was having in mind when I was thinking about today's interview was that
Yeah.
and again it goes into your journey into building a product and especially as a no code founder. So were there any difficulties that you faced while building your product and how did you overcome it? Because many times no code founder find themselves that they start building but they are then stuck or they are left in middle. So were there any
They're left.
difficulties that
Sorry,
you faced?
I didn't catch that part. They're left.
With a like a half baked product, for example,
Oh,
they are not able to get their product to release. They are not able to, like, one of the things you mentioned very well was that articulating what you intend to do. So many times people are not able to do that and they are not able to get the best from their development team, and then they are getting a product which is not really ready to be launched. So, did you face any difficulties, and how did you overcome such difficulties as a no-code founder?
I did not face those difficulties because I was again, I was very clear on what I wanted. I started with my end goal in mind.
Mhm.
I I had I had a team of people who helped. One of my team members, Lola, she was really instrumental in helping me um, put some of those thoughts in writing because she's very technical, highly technical. And so whenever we had meetings with our development team, it was there were some things that I would say using regular words, and having someone who can translate into techie language was helpful. I also think having a strong project manager who can translate um, and be that middle person. Fish was a really good project manager for us, and so that helped with navigating some of the challenges on both sides that could arise and did arise, but we resolved them as we went along. So I would say, knowing that you're not a technical person, you need to have people who can understand what you need and be able to put it down in a way that the technical team can understand and develop a product that can be
Right.
used. So again, I think for me, it's just a team effort, really. Just making sure you
Mhm.
have the right people around you to get a job done.
Right. Okay. Okay. And another question that that is, I'd say, one of the frequently asked when building a healthcare platform is, knowing more about your tryst with compliances like HIPAA, PHI. So, been there, done that. Now, would you like to share some aspects around that? Like, if today any founder is thinking to build a platform, especially in the US market, or say a telehealth or anything that has to do with patient data.
Mhm.
So, what have been your learnings on compliances, and how do you suggest people should think about it?
So, being HIPAA compliant is a non-negotiable. If you have a HIPAA, if you have a telehealth platform and or you're providing any sort of healthcare services or technology in the US or really in many parts of the world, the product has to be HIPAA compliant. And so that was one of the criteria we had building our platform. We wanted and ensured that it was part of the product description when we posted the job, and 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 the team delivered on that. We also subsequently got ourselves audited so that we were, while the team showed us all the documentation and all the processes, and we can see and know that it's HIPAA compliant. We also wanted a third party to do an audit on the platform. And so those are some of the steps that I would recommend to anyone who's working in this space. That's something you don't want to play with. You want to make sure you have those things done, because there are patients who would ask. They actually asked us a couple of times before we got our seal on our website. So are you HIPAA compliant? We don't see your seal. And we said,
Okay.
well, yes, we are. We built it as a HIPAA compliant website platform, but they still wanted to see the proof. And so it's especially in this country, it's really important that you have that done.
Mhm. Okay, great, great. So, last question from my end. How do you summarize your journey till now, and what do you see the future to hold for you in 2022 and beyond?
Really good question, Ayush. So my journey so far has been exciting. It has been what I'll describe as one full of ups and downs. There are days that I'm really high, really happy and excited. And there's some days that I feel, so why are you doing this? And so it's been a great journey. It's been fulfilling because actually making a difference. And the platform that we've built, for us, and ThriveHealth is not just a platform. It's a vehicle and um, a, a digital building, a digital medical building, right, where people can come and receive care in a virtual space. And so for us, for me to be able to facilitate care this way is really impactful and increase access. I am so honored and thrilled to be able to be on a journey like this. So it's humbling and it's exciting, and it's also a huge responsibility because you want to make sure that your patients have a good experience every time they come in contact with your brand or with your platform. And um, so yes, the journey has been great. What I see in 2022 and beyond is for us to continue to grow into expand our reach, expand our impact, be able to help more people here in the US, be able to facilitate care, have the doctors and the patients come together on our platform and have a good experience, and really provide compassionate, seamless care for patients. I also would like to expand into other countries. Just a couple of days ago, someone from Honduras is wanting to use our platform as a white label. So we have more and more people globally who are interested in working with ThriveHealth. So I'd like to see more of that. And finally, we decided to create two niches, kidney and behavioral health. And so truly hone down our specialties that we've selected, and create platforms or modules within the platform that would address those specific specialties. So.
Okay, great, great. And we wish you all the best for the vision and for the things that are coming. I think telehealth has just got started. So I believe you are at a position in time that I think there should be only way to go up.
I'm excited for the opportunity, and there's a lot of competition, but like I said, sometime during the talk, I believe strongly in collaboration and partnerships. And so those other telehealth companies, I'm happy to work with them, and or compete with them if that's what they would like. But I do agree with you. There's just a lot of need, and the more the merrier. So I'm excited for the opportunity to be in this space and to meet the needs that's out there.
Great. We wish you all the best. And
Thank
these
you.
wishes are coming all the way from, yeah, a lot of them here. So.